بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In today's lesson, we are studying a very important particle in Quranic Arabic, Illa. In Arabic grammar, this is called Harful Isthithna, Illa, meaning the particle of exception. This word Illa is mainly used to indicate exception, but in certain sentence structures, it can also convey restriction, which in Arabic we call al-hasr. So from the very beginning, keep this in mind. Illa can do two jobs, either istithna or hasr, and the context tells us which one it is. Now when illa is used for a real exception inside a complete statement, the structure consists of three essential elements. Let's read them carefully one by one. First, the exception particle, adatul istithna, and that is illa. Second, the excluded element, in Arabic called al-mustathna. This is the item that is being taken out. Third, the group from which it is excluded, in Arabic called al-mustathna minhu. This is the original group, and one member is removed from it. So a real exception has this picture. A group is mentioned, then illa appears, then one element is removed from that group. Now look at the summary box on the slide because it gives the key difference. First, exception. This means removal from a group. In other words, the group is there, and one member is taken out. The example on the slide is جاء الطلاب إلا حامدا. The students came except Hamid. Here, the excluded element is present. Hamidan is clearly the one removed from the group. Next, restriction, hasr. This means no group or no removal. There is not a clearly stated group that someone is being removed from. Instead, the meaning becomes only or nothing but. The example on the slide is ما جاء إلا حامد. None came except Hamid, meaning only Hamid came. Here the sentence is not removing someone from a listed group. It is restricting the meaning to one subject. Now let's read the next section on the slide, Illā, in Arabic grammar. Illā is used for exception and restriction in Arabic. When Illā appears in a sentence, it introduces either an exclusion or a restrictive meaning, and this involves two key terms. The first term is al-mustathna, the excluded element. The second term is al-mustathna minhu, the group from which the exclusion is made. And the slide reminds us, sometimes the mustathna minhu may be omitted. When that happens, very often the meaning shifts away from a simple removal from a group, and it starts behaving like restriction, depending on the sentence. Now we come to the final part of this page. There are three main types of istithna structures. Let's read them clearly. Type 1. Positive statements with action completed. Complete affirmative. Type 2. Negative statements with action completed. Complete negative. Type 3. Negative statements with emphasis and restrictive meaning. Adatul hasr. So from here onward, our job is simple. Every time we see Illā, we ask, is this a real exception, istithna, where a member is removed from a mentioned group? Or is this restriction, hasr, where the meaning becomes only or nothing but? That is the foundation. In the next segments, we will go through Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 with Quranic examples, step by step, so this becomes easy and natural, insha'Allah. Type 1. Positive statements with action completed. Now, we come to the first structure of Illā. This type is called positive statements with action completed, meaning the sentence is affirmative and complete. There are two important characteristics to notice here. First, the sentence is affirmative. There is no negation word like ma or la. Second, the group is clearly mentioned in the sentence. Because the group exists, Illā functions as a real exception tool, not as restriction. Let us look at the first Quranic example. فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. They all prostrated except Iblis. 1850. Here, the group is clearly understood. All the angels prostrated. The particle Illā removes one member from that group. The excluded element is Iblis, which is the mustathna, and it appears in the mansub state. So this is a true exception, because one member is taken out of a mentioned group. Now look at the second example. كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهُ. Everything will perish except his face. 2888. Again we see a clear group, كُلُّ شَيْءٍ, meaning everything. Then Illā removes one element from that group. وَجْهَهُ, the face of Allah. So the meaning again is true exception. Now consider the third example. فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُمْ. They drank from it, except a few of them. 2:249. Here, the group is the people who drank, but a few did not drink. The phrase قَلِيلًا مِنْهُمْ is the mustathna, meaning the ones excluded from the action. So again, Illā is removing a member from the group. Now the fourth example, لَاتَّبَعْتُمُ الشَّيْطَانَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. You would have followed shaitan, except a few. 483. Here also, the group is implied, the people being addressed. Most would have followed shaitan, but a small number are excluded, expressed by إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. So, in all four examples, the pattern is the same. The sentence is affirmative. The group is present in the meaning. Illā removes one member from that group. Therefore, in this structure, Illā is a true particle of exception, and the mustathna is normally mansub. Next, type 2. Negative statements with action completed, meaning the sentence is complete but negative. There are two important things to notice in this structure. First, the sentence contains negation, usually with words like ma or la. Second, the group is explicitly mentioned in the sentence. Because the group is present, Illā still functions as a real exception tool, not as restriction. Let us look at the first example. مَا فَعَلُوهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ مِّنْهُمْ. They did not do it except a few of them. 466. Here the sentence begins with ma, which makes it negative. The group is clearly mentioned in the phrase minhum, from them. Then Illā removes a small number from that group. The word qalilun represents the mustathna, the excluded element. Now look at the second example. وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. And none believed with him except a few. 1140. Again the sentence is negative because it begins with ma amana. None believed. The phrase إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ shows that a small number is excluded from the general statement. Now, the third example, وَلَا يَأْتُونَ الْبَأْسَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. They do not come to battle except a little. 33:18. Here, the negation comes from la, making the sentence negative. The phrase إِلَّا قَلِيلًا again indicates the excluded element. Now notice the important grammatical note on the slide. In this type 2 structure, the mustathna, the excluded element, may appear either in the marfu' form or the mansub form. Both can occur depending on the grammatical structure of the sentence. Now let us remember the golden rule. When a sentence is negative and the group is clearly mentioned, then Illā introduces a real exception, meaning a member is removed from that group. In this case, the mustathna may be marfu' or mansub. However, If the sentence is negative, but the group is not mentioned, then Illā no longer functions as a simple exception. Instead, it expresses restriction, al-hasr. And that is exactly what we will study in the third type of Illā in the next section. Type 3, restriction, or adatul hasr. Now we come to the third structure of Illā, which is slightly different from the previous two. This type is called negative statements with emphasis and restrictive meaning. And in Arabic grammar, it is known as adatul hasr, the tool of restriction. In this structure, Illā is not functioning as a real exception. Instead, it restricts the meaning, giving the sense of only or nothing but. Let us understand the characteristics of this structure. First, there is no explicit group mentioned. In the previous types, we saw that a group existed and one member was removed. But here, no such group appears in the sentence. Second, the sentence is negative. This negation usually comes from particles such as ma, la, or in. Third, because there is no group, Illā cannot remove a member from it. Therefore, it functions as restriction, hasr, rather than exception. Another point to notice is the grammatical structure of these sentences. Sometimes they appear as jumlatul ismiyah, a nominal sentence, where the khabar appears in the marfu state. At other times, they appear as jumlatul fi'iliyah, a verbal sentence, where the maf'ul bihi appears in the mansub state. But the key meaning remains the same. The sentence conveys a restricted meaning, often translated as only or nothing but. So whenever we see a negative sentence and no group is mentioned, and the meaning becomes only this and nothing else, then Illā is functioning as adatul hasr, the particle of restriction. Next, we will see several Quranic sentences where Illā gives this meaning of restriction, helping us understand how the Qur'an emphasizes a statement by limiting it to one truth alone. Now let us look carefully at the examples in the table. In all of these sentences, Illā does not remove a member from a group. Instead, it restricts the meaning, giving the sense of only or nothing but. This is why we call it adatul hasr, the tool of restriction. Let us read them one by one. First example, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. Muhammad is nothing but a messenger. 3:144. The sentence begins with ma, which makes it negative. There is no group mentioned, so Illā does not remove anyone from a group. Instead, it restricts the meaning. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is only a messenger. Grammatically, this is a jumlatul ismiyah, and Rasulun appears as the khabar in the marfu state. Second example, Allā na'buda illallah, that we worship none but Allah. 364. Here the verb na'buda is restricted by Illā, meaning the act of worship is limited only to Allah. Again, there is no group from which something is removed, so the meaning is restriction. Third example, in anta illa nadhir. You are nothing but a warner. 35:23. The sentence begins with in, which acts as negation. Then Illā restricts the meaning to one description, nadhir. Grammatically, this is a nominal sentence, and nadhirun is the khabar in the marfu form. Fourth example, لا يقول إلا الحق. He says nothing but the truth. Here the sentence is verbal. The negation, la, appears first, and Illā restricts the speech to only one thing, al-haq. Because it is the object of the verb, al-haq appears in the mansub form as maf'ul bih. Fifth example, in il-hukmu illa lillah. Judgment belongs to none but Allah. 12:40. Here the negation in is used again. The word al-hukmu is the subject of the sentence, and illa lillah restricts authority only to Allah. The meaning is exclusive. Judgment belongs only to Allah. Sixth example, In huwa illa dhikrun lil alamin. It is nothing but a reminder for the worlds. 12:104. Again, the sentence begins with in as negation. The pronoun huwa refers to the Qur'an, and illa dhikrun restricts its description. It is nothing but a reminder. The word dhikrun appears as khabar marfu. Seventh example, In huwa illa wahyun yuha. It is nothing but a revelation that is revealed. 53:4. Here again we see restriction, emphasizing that the Qur'an is only revelation, not anything else. Eighth example, وَمَا أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُنَا. You are nothing but human beings like us. 14:10. The disbelievers use this sentence to reject the prophets. The negation ma appears first, and Illā restricts the description to basharun, human beings. Ninth example, In ana illa nadhirun mubin. I am nothing but a clear warner. 7:184. Again, in gives negation, and Illā restricts the statement. The Prophet ﷺ is only a clear warner. The word nadhirun appears as khabar marfu. 10th example, In hadha illa qawlul bashar. This is nothing but the speech of a human being. 74:25. The disbelievers use this claim about the Qur'an. Grammatically, qawlu is the khabar, and Illā restricts the meaning. 11th example, In huwa illa sihrun yu'thar. This is nothing but an inherited magic. 74:24. Again, the same structure appears. Negation followed by Illā, giving the meaning of restriction. Now remember, the one-line rule at the bottom of the slide. Exception removes a member. Restriction limits the meaning. In exception, Isthithna, a member is removed from a mentioned group, like fasajadu illa iblisa. They all prostrated except Iblis. But in restriction, hasr, the meaning is limited to only one subject without removing anyone from a group. This distinction is extremely important when reading Quranic Arabic because the particle Illā can carry two different grammatical functions depending on the structure of the sentence. Alhamdulillah, this brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found this video useful, we warmly encourage you to join our online complete self-study course at Al-Qur'an Institute, designed for you to learn at your own time and space, where you will receive unlimited access to our PDF materials, multiple choice questions with answers, exams, and a certificate of completion. You can enroll through our website www.alquraninstitute.net or contact support directly from the website. If you benefited from this video, please like and share, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon to receive all future lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your Quranic Arabic journey easy, fill your heart with clarity and love for His words, and reward you abundantly in this world and the hereafter.